Hello everybody, so this is the final video I'll be doing for Garbaugust 2022. I'm assuming it might happen again next year, I'm not sure. Anyway, first off, massive thanks to Criminal for starting this, because it's been an interesting ride, and I know there's loads of people that have got behind it and got a lot out of it. So it's been really good watching other people's videos on Garbaugust as well. And it's just a brilliant idea, and it did take us all out of our comfort zone. So I've actually read 8 books for Garbaugust, which is a crazy amount. I mean, I'm on holiday, which helped, and they're all short. But I was trying to do my own event as well, the Audible August, which I've only read 1.5 books of so far. I've got a little bit of time left at the end of this month to read something else. But clearly, I prioritised Garbaugust. So I've spoken about 6 of these books before on these vlogs I did. So these were the 6 that I read first. So I think this is the order I read them in. So I started off with Signor Saint, which was alright. Not quite as sexy and scandalous as I thought it would be, but it was alright. Then I read Babylon 5's first book, Voices, which I didn't think was very good, which is a shame because I love Babylon 5 to pieces. But yeah, I didn't think it was written very well, and yeah, it was a bit of a slog to get through it, and there was just like exclamation marks everywhere, so that was a bit naff. But then I read Objection Bejor by John Peel, probably not the DJ, the DS9 spin-off, and this was good. This was a good story and written well, with very authentically characterised characters from DS9, which was good. Then I read Nick Carter's Human Time Bomb, with that stunning cover, which was more like what I was expecting to read for this month. And yeah, I mean, it was a bit naff, but it was an interesting little sidestep into an area I wouldn't normally read, and yeah, it was alright. Then I read The Rats, James Herbert, and this one was a bit of a revelation. I quite enjoyed it. It was disgusting, and some of it was really gross, and like one of the first deaths was a very young child, and that whole scene was quite brutal. But yeah, I quite enjoyed that. I don't know how much I'm going to read of James Herbert, but I'm glad I read that one. This is like his most famous one, and yeah, pleasantly surprised with that one. Then I read this one, which I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I read The Pursuit of Diana, which was you know, a bit pointless really. Not particularly written in a revelationary way. It was just what it was, really, you know, which is probably the case for a lot of tie-in stuff, I guess. But yeah, all right. I love the series, by the way. It's a big part of my childhood, the V series. And then 2 books I definitely haven't talked about is the last 2 that I read out of the 8, and actually I haven't completed this one, but I've read some of it, which is Richard Lehman's Dreadful Tale. So I've read about 6 stories in here, which is not even half the book, but it's given me a good flavour of Richard Lehman. And to be honest, I'd be really intrigued to know what female readers think of Richard Lehman, because I enjoyed it, and I like the unpredictability of the stories, and they're quite gross, but in a don't know, horror channel kind of way, you know, like a B-movie kind of way. But I'm just wondering, because the male gaze in these stories is relentless, I don't know if that affects the reading experience for women that are reading it. I don't know. I'd love to know, because it's different for men reading it, I think. But yeah, it is a relentless male gaze. So yeah, that's a kind of an interesting part of Richard Lehman's writing, which I think Ollie from Criminal has mentioned before. And yeah, I mean, some of it is you just wonder if he just enjoys writing about women being brutalised. I don't know. And this one was the last one I've read for this month. And again, I was expecting a kind of like a scandalous kind of sex and violence thing. And there was a lot of sexual language in it. And again, that male gaze was like prevalent throughout. But I really enjoyed the plot and the way that the unpredictability kind of played out, and all these different strands of plot all came together at the end, these disparate strands that kind of made sense. And there was kind of 4 characters that were vying for dominance in the story, which was quite interesting. So yeah, I quite enjoyed that, which is nice because I do like the series so far. I've read the Stephen King ones, and now I've read this one. I've got a few others I could read. But yeah, it's another situation where I'd be curious to know if this is like something that wouldn't alienate a female audience or not. I don't know. So that was the 8 books I read for Garbaugust. And there was 3 books I didn't get to. So I definitely want to spend the rest of the month doing some of the Audible August thing. I've got some books that I want to read before the September thing kicks in. And September, I've got specific things I want to read for September that have just been on my TBR for ages that I've been ignoring because these are book events. So there is a TBR video coming up at the beginning of September. But I didn't get to the Sean Hudson book that I got from the library, so I will read this before I give it back to the library. But what I'll probably do is I'll try and read it before Halloween. And I didn't read the Gotham tie-in that I bought. This was like a prequel. Didn't read this in time, but probably still will read it. And I had another Saint book that I bought at the same time as I bought Senor Saint. I didn't read this. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I will read it. Some of these Garbaugust books that I've bought, I'm just going to give them to a charity shop probably. Because they've served their function. So, yeah, it was an interesting experiment, and there's definitely some things I've learnt from it, and I now know about some authors I didn't know before, and I know what the kind of Saint and Nick Carter books are like, which is interesting. But I want to delve more into the Star Trek books as well, so that was tying in with Book Trek as well that Revenant Reed started. But yeah, obviously it was the tie-in thing that kind of linked it to Garbaugust. So yeah, I'm going to spend... So, as I said, we've got a few days left. And, I mean, it could be a bit of a hectic few days anyway. But definitely want to get one more book in for Audible August. And there were a few booktubers, by the way, that did mention Audible August. And I do appreciate that because, obviously, I'm just, this very small channel that isn't important or anything. And I thought it'd be nice to create an event, see if anyone... thought it was a good idea, and a few people did, which was really nice. And it was just a way of bringing up something that I don't think gets mentioned a lot, and it was just a way of making a theme that was a bit unusual. But I didn't read enough on that because I concentrated on Garbaugust. So yeah, the last book I'm going to read for this month is definitely going to be based around music, and it's probably going to be the Japanese novel I bought about the piano tuner who finds his calling, and it's sort of like this sort of romantic thread coming through. So it would be very different from the Garbaugust books. But yeah, thanks for watching, and please leave a comment below if you have any opinions about those books that I read. And once more, big shout out to Ollie for creating this thing because it's been a lot of fun. Thanks a lot. Bye.